I'll tell you exactly who's got a lot of debts. One, obviously wealthy people, right? Wealthy people always carry a lot of debt. They also got a lot of assets, but got a lot of debt. And so, let's say you've got a $10 billion real estate portfolio, for example, right? You got this $10 billion real estate portfolio, commercial real estate and whatever, residential, towers or whatever, right? Okay, great. And let's say you're probably going to have that on a bunch of debt, right? But all you really care about over time is that $10 billion of debt you have, right? In terms of the assets become worth 20 billion and then 30 billion and 40 billion, right? And then 50 billion. That's what you care about. So obviously over time, things kind of growing and growing, inflation is kind of good. Who else has a ton of debt? Think about this for a moment. The U.S. government. Governments in general have a ton of debt, right? But obviously the government has a tremendous amount of debt. So one of the reasons the government could actually secretly want to push inflation during certain time periods is specifically after a time period when you, let's say, print a lot of money out there, okay? And obviously you create a lot of money that might not have been there before, and you can do that many various ways. One is obviously through stimulus payments, but there's a million other ways you can do it, right? And so naturally, if you can, I don't want to say you can inflate that debt away, but if the numbers just become much bigger over time, then they kind of dwarf what other numbers you have, right? Imagine you're a company, right? And imagine you have a 50% profit margin. But let's say whatever happens, like over the course of 2 years, your cost of your product doubles. So you double your price, right? Well, now, even if your profit margin stayed the same, right, 50% profit margin, obviously the dollar amount for your revenue and your net income is going to look dramatically bigger just because of natural inflation, right? Now, there's a bunch of dislocation in that short-term period that, you don't raise prices fast enough, and there's a bunch of problems that come with that. But once the dust is settled, all of a sudden it looks like, oh, this is grand. We just doubled our revenue. We doubled our net income, right? Oh, this is beautiful, right? Ron Barron, who's a very successful, famous investor, touched on this one point and how it's all part of the plan, essentially, to have this inflation right now. Then we'll wither it down, and then it won't be a problem. But meanwhile, everything got much more expensive. Everybody's, revenues can look better, and this can look better. The debts can look smaller because then maybe GDP is a lot bigger. Think about these things for a moment, and all of a sudden you start to play it out, and you're like, oh, this is just one big game of chess. Warren Buffett owns Apple, right? Apple, how do they make almost all their money, for the past 10, 15 years? From selling iPhones, right? From selling a cell phone. Now, the cell phone business, before it became a smartphone business, was not actually a good business model. And it was always just a fight to the end. I don't know if you guys remember, for the younger viewers, you might not remember these times, but anybody that's over the age of 30, and certainly anybody watching this, you might be in your 40s, 50s, or 60s, you remember like the cell phone battles prior to the smartphone era, right? And you could get like a free flip phone or actually decent phones for free or for like $99 from, signing up with, whoever the cell phone providers were, AT&T or Verizon or Sprint or whoever it was back in those days, right? And it was incredible. It wasn't normal back then to have to spend $1,000 or $1,200 to get a new smartphone, and then you spent all this money once you got the smartphone as well, right? There was a fundamental change in the business model. So one of the things I think Warren Buffett's missing with the new age business models, and that's fine, you don't have to get everything, but I think he's missing the fact that this is a fundamental change in the way these companies operate. A Tesla is not the same as the traditional automakers were. Their gross margins are going to be obviously exponentially more than what the traditional automakers were. Like, look at what's happened with their gross margins the past few years, and this company's just still at infant stage of profitability and margins, right? Imagine where they'll be 5 years out, 10 years out. And when you think about all the revenue opportunities Tesla's creating when somebody gets a car, that's the other fundamental change I think folks like Buffett and many others are just missing. And it's a change in the entire business model, like we had with the cell phone when it went from just a basic cell phone to then the smartphone era that Apple ushered in. Okay, totally different situation, and you got to look at those companies, in my opinion, very differently. This is an important question. Like, why is Fubo attracting so many customers? They have these incredible numbers. Like, what's going on? There's 4 core reasons, in my opinion. As somebody that's studied this company for quite some time now and is a Fubo customer, like, I know why they're attracting customers. First one's easy use. Like, it's so easy. It's like, streaming on your TV. Like, if I want to, like, a lot of times I'll have CNBC on in the background while I work. So I'll just, if I want it on my computer, I put it on my phone. It takes less than 5 seconds and boom, it's right there, right? Even like last night, I had to drive my kids somewhere, right? And they wanted to watch a basketball game and I wanted to hear it over the Tesla. So just pull it up on my phone, less than 5 seconds, basketball game right there. It just, super convenient and easy use is definitely a big factor why they're attracting a lot of customers, okay? This multi-view is one of the coolest things I've seen, okay? And this matters for sports fans specifically, okay? So multi-view is the ability to watch several games at the same time. This is for more hardcore sports fans, okay? People that like fantasy football, people that like college football, college basketball, baseball, where you got any sport where you got a bunch of the games going on all at once. Could be even, basketball fans for the regular season. You got a bunch of games going on all at once, and you want to watch several different games, okay? And anybody that's a diehard sports fan, you know exactly what I'm talking about. When there's like, shoot, man, there's 2, 3, sometimes 4 games on, you really want to watch them. And instead of clicking back and forth the channels, okay, back to this channel, you can basically have it all up on your TV, right? All up on your TV at the same exact time. And so I do that this is an 85-inch here, and I'll do it with my Apple TV, okay? I know people like, what? That's an 85-inch? The walls, my ceilings, it's like a cathedral, okay, in here, okay? It's ridiculous. So I'll have 4 different games all in at once on my Apple TV, right? 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom. And it's phenomenal, right? And so I don't have to worry about switching back in channels and all this stuff. And I can control whichever one I care about the most. I'll have the volume coming to that one. And you can easily just flick it on your remote to whichever game you want to have the volume going over. So that's a huge, huge benefit for sports fans out there, okay? The third reason is football. It's just the best platform if you're a football fan, especially college football, but even NFL, like there's no better platform. Between the multi-view and just like all the different networks they have, which is specific in regards to college football, because college football will be on all these different networks, right? But even NFL football, it's like you'll have games on CBS and Fox and all over the place, NBC. And so football fans is a huge reason. In every single fall time, starting around late August, September, Fubo sees a huge boost up, and all of a sudden people searching for Fubo, okay? And the fourth reason, in my opinion, is they only have one major competitor, in my personal opinion, okay? You can say, well, cable companies and satellite companies are competitors, sure. But in my opinion, they only have one main competitor. It's YouTube TV, okay? And that will be their long-term competitor, okay? YouTube TV is never going to be beat, in my opinion. Fubo will always play number 2 to YouTube TV, in my personal opinion. And that's perfectly fine. They don't need to beat YouTube TV for the stock to be, a 10x, a 50x opportunity here, okay? Now, there's 3 core ways for Fubo to keep growing this business, okay? One is raising prices, which they actually just did here very, very recently. They just actually raised prices. The second one is attracting more customers, which they have no shortage of doing that and attracting more and more customers. And the third way of growing their business is through advertising, right? One is through putting more ads out there, which I have YouTube TV and I have Fubo. And I just try to see like how many ads YouTube TV does versus Fubo. And I can tell you, like, oh gosh, okay, YouTube TV shows dramatically more ads than Fubo. Like, Fubo has a lot of room to basically put more ads when they want to do that, okay? And they will do that over time. And obviously, as you get more ads and advertisers, you'll be able to go up in your ad prices. So, you can obviously command better CPMs. So overall, those are, obviously Fubo can grow in other ways over time as well. But these are 3 core ways that are going to be, in my opinion, like what this company lives and dies by, right? And as far as on the cost side, the main thing they obviously got to keep in control in regards to their costs is just like what they're paying out networks and making sure they're negotiating in a good way. When it comes to negotiating with the networks, right, for Fubo, they're going to have more leverage and power the more customers they attract. That's the bottom line. The more customers they attract, the more leverage and power they have. The smaller you are, the harder it is to compete and really like negotiate for good prices here, okay? So I could tell you, for every new million subscribers they attract over time, it's going to be very impactful. That's just a way it works. The bigger you become, right? Walmart can command the lowest prices. When they go to the company that sells paper towels, and they say, no, that's not good enough. In order to, be in our store, we want to pay blah, blah, blah price. As a paper towel distributor, you got to kind of listen to them, or you're not going to have Walmart as a customer. You're not going to be on the shelves at Walmart, right? That's where power comes in, and that's where, the bigger you are, the more power you have. And so every potential subscriber Fubo attracts over time is very important to them in terms of their cost side of their business as well. And that's something to keep in mind here, right?